Craig Button joins us this morning. Mr. Button, good morning. How are you doing today? Is he muted? We got him?
That's okay. He'll
just a sec, Craig. Well, yeah, Craig's going to fix this right now.
On. He's getting
I love it.
Craig's on it.
There we go. Let's see. We'll try to get Craig back on audio. He looked like he was going to work to try to fix it.
Blink if you can hear us.
Yeah, I think I can. Hey. Let's bring him in. Craig. Yeah,
can
we got you,
now?
Craig.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished, Mr. Button. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I don't think you had me in.
Oh,
you didn't let me in the studio. Like, is there like is there a secret password or something? Like, did I have to get in with into the studio?
Craig, don't say anything about the password. Yeah. Craig Button with us on the show this morning. The Edmonton Oilers about to kick off a 4-game homestand. They get Washington coming up tomorrow, then 2 more days off, and then Colorado rolls in. First of 3 between the Oilers and the Avs. And, how much you buy into the old measuring stick? Let's see how they look against the Colorado Avalanche on the weekend.
Well, I like the fact that you get to test yourself against a real strong competitor in your conference. You know, you go west, you go east, and you play Boston. Okay, it's nice. You win a really good game, a hard-fought game, 2-1. But those games, I was with Frankie Corrado, and Frankie used the word, those are curiosity games, he called them. Curious how you measure up against the teams in the East. I think when you're playing teams in the West that are going to be in your path or very well could be in your path, I think it's a really good test, a really good opportunity to see where you stand. And it gives coaches a chance to see how players handle different situations. It gives players a chance to, and it's March. It gets ratcheted up. And I think those feelings that of the game having more importance, knowing that your opponent is a serious contender as you are, those are ones that move the needle. And I think the games will be really instructive for both teams, for Colorado and for Edmonton.
As the dust settles here on the trade deadline, Los Angeles didn't really do anything. We'll get to the Canucks in a second with Eric. But teams were active in the West, including the Edmonton Oilers. When it's all said and done, do you look at anybody in the West, because it's such a good group of contenders, did anybody elevate themselves above that group, or is it more just moving around inside the group?
Well, I look at the teams, and so let's start in the Pacific. So Vancouver, Edmonton, and Vegas all active. Vancouver got a lot of their work done, prior to the actual trade deadline, but I think getting Lindholm, and I think he can settle in now and find his game. And then you look at Winnipeg and Dallas and Colorado. 6 teams, and I think they're all at various levels of contending and all serious contenders, don't get me wrong. I think they all did something significant and meaningful. Sometimes teams do things at the trade deadline, you kind of go, geez, that kind of makes sense. It seemed to me that all of the teams that I just mentioned also directly addressed a significant area of need, want, but strengthen a really significant area of their team that I think helps them come playoff time. And I was trying to go back in time. Rarely do I see that with respect to 6 teams doing exactly that. And Edmonton, I thought they needed depth. I thought they needed forward depth, and they got it. And you look at what the Winnipeg Jets did. You look at what Vegas did. Vancouver, Colorado, Dallas, a right shot defenseman. It's not about quantity. It's about hitting the target on what strengthens your team. I think all 6 of those teams did a really nice job. LA made their big move in the summertime. And quite frankly, it hasn't worked out very well. That move that they made getting Dubois has worked out tremendously well for Winnipeg, not so well for the LA Kings. And I watched the game again last night and I'm watching LA. Pierre-Luc Dubois shows no signs of taking his game to a higher level. It's almost like he's become satisfied being, how do I put this? A mediocre player.
Yeah.
Because at $9 million plus, he's just mediocre.
TSN's Craig Button on the Nielson Show this morning, Edmonton Sports Talk. Craig, I just want to go over, we discussed the Oilers in terms of looking at the neighbors, and we mentioned the Kings. You did. They don't get their goalie prior to the deadline. Of course, now everyone, kind of assuming more of a summer move, so we'll leave them there. But the Vancouver Canucks this morning, 10 points up on the Oilers. Oilers have 3 games in hand. But that Thatcher Demko news, Craig, knee injury. We're looking at, 3 to 4 weeks, maybe a month. Got about a month left in the regular season. How much, it goes without saying, an important piece of that Canucks team and any success they want. I know the Lindholm acquisition prior to the deadline, but then he finds himself back on the trade bait board. So just if you could right now, a state of the Vancouver Canucks, where you see them at right now. They've been trucking along all season. Winners still of 4 straight. I know a few players will be returning from injury as well, but no Demko for the next couple weeks. Do you see him holding that lead? Dusty mentioned earlier this morning, too, maybe this does them a little bit of good, knowing they can play without Thatcher Demko heading into a playoff push. But just your thoughts on the state of the Canucks and where we might see them standings-wise once Thatcher Demko returns.
Well, just make sure one thing. Make sure you ask the popcorn boy tomorrow morning about the injury to
yes,
his
I got to make yes, you're right.
Don't forget about our Mr. Popcorn boy.
He said Craig sent me the picture of you were on that.
It's very clean.
What a beautiful popcorn machine Noodles has. That's great.
Oh yeah, and he's got all he's got the basket. Anyway,
both different types of things.
Lovely wife. Yeah, he's got it all going. And Jamie will tell you this, and a goaltender when you have a knee injury, a hip injury, groin, those are injuries that you can't come back unless you're really if not at 100%, about to be 100% because of the movements in the net. And that's really critical for a goaltender. So a forward with a knee injury might be able to come back, have a little bit better opportunity to play at less than 100%. Goaltender doesn't have that. So that's the first thing I'll say. Second thing, they're going to have to find out what it's like with life without Thatcher Demko. And, again, you lose a goaltender that is right in the thick of the Vezina Trophy race. You have to gather round as a team and say, okay, what are we going to do? Because Casey DeSmith, he's played well, and the Vancouver Canucks have played well. They're going to have to play really well here, and you don't want to be limping into the playoffs either. You do find out what your team is capable of, and they're a good team. But the door opens. It opens up just a little crack. The 3 games in hand, still 10 points, and you're getting out of runway. If you just think about the Vancouver Canucks, if they just go 500. That's a pretty tall task to ask the Edmonton Oilers to go past them. But that being said, you look at where the Vancouver Canucks or what they've done this year with Thatcher Demko in the net. I would say my biggest concern, if I'm the Vancouver Canucks, there's nothing I can do right now without Thatcher. But I don't like my chances without Thatcher in the playoffs. I am doing everything I can to get him to 100% because I think their chances greatly diminish. And I know that this isn't anything that's new news without Demko. They now become vulnerable, massively vulnerable to lose in the first round.
Yeah, no reason to rush him back at all. Make sure he's good to go for the postseason. Washington is going to roll in here on Wednesday. They were in Winnipeg last night. Hellebuck with a 3-0 shutout there. What do you think of Toffoli added to the Jets? They already picked up Monahan earlier on. They were already a really good team prior to adding those 2 guys. What have they done in their push in a very, very tight Central Division?
Yeah, and one thing I will say, I'm watching the game last night. Washington was never in it. It was 3-0. Washington was never in it. I was watching the panel, and I thought Justin Williams did a really good job of outlining how sloppy and the lack of detail in the Washington Capitals game. And certainly, they're in a very different place than they were a few years ago. And a team that it looked like maybe we could make the playoffs. No, I don't see it. You look at Monahan, they needed a second line center. They went and got one. Then you looked at how the lines were composed. They had Ehlers, Perfetti with Monahan, and it was light. It was light on the wings, light on the walls. And getting Tyler Toffoli pushes Perfetti down the lineup. And Tyler's a really good player. We know what a good goal scorer he is, but he's a really good two-way player. He kills penalties. He plays really well. He fits exactly the way the Winnipeg Jets have been playing. I think the familiarity in the Western Conference is going to help him assimilate, just like it's helped Sean Monahan. Like, again, a team that absolutely targeted what they felt was going to strengthen their team and then went out and got it. And when I look at the price, because you hear this a lot, well, the prices were too high. The prices were too high. What? The prices to get Tyler Toffoli? There was a third, I think a second next year and a third this year.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's not, and they have a lot of good prospects. But then you hear other managers talk about how hard it is to make a deal. It's amazing that the managers that don't find a way to make the deal always complain about how hard it is to make a deal. And the other ones just go about their business. Well, they do. They just go about their business. I mean, you think about Kenny Holland last year with Matthias Ekholm, found a way to strengthen his team. This year, he adds Carrick and he adds Henrique. You find a way. There's nothing more common in this league than the managers that find a way and the managers that always tell you how hard it is to make a trade. Well, good. Beat Tommy Fitzgerald in New Jersey and sit back with a team that's going to miss the playoffs after 112 points last year.
Yeah.
You're talking about a massive disappointment.
Or go out and get a goalie in October as opposed to wait to Jake Allen at the deadline for some reason. So, yeah, that was a little bizarre.
Exactly, yeah. Dustin. Exactly. How about I was laughing last week. I don't know if you guys caught this, but when Chris Tanev went for a second-round pick in Grushnikov on Insider Trading, they were reporting that Bill Armstrong was really disappointed because he thought the return for Tanev would have been a little bit higher and a first-round pick potentially, and maybe that would have set a higher market for Matt Dumba. Matt Dumba went for a 7th-round draft pick in 2025.
Yeah.
Talk about being out of touch.
He was sent away for free. I mean, come on, man. You got to have a read on the market, I would think. Craig, before we let you go.
I chuckled.
We got to get to Rempe throwing the old chicken wing out last night. What do you think the punishment's going to be, and what do you think of the big man? It's just a boneheaded play.
Waving goodbye.
Yeah.
4 games. I'm not waving goodbye. 4 games.
No, he
was waving goodbye last night. He was waving goodbye to me.
Yeah, and he was waving goodbye for 4 games. Charlie McAvoy got a 4-game suspension for a very similar flying elbow on the head. Rasmus Anderson got 4 games. I believe that the NHL had an opportunity to put him on notice. I thought when he ran at Lyabushkin in Toronto on the Saturday night that they could have fined him for charging and put him on notice.
Yeah.
And earlier in the game, there was Lafreniere had hit Luke Hughes and in a similar spot. And I don't care if you're 6'8" or 5'8". You can't take your elbow and make the head the principal point of contact. So sit down for 4 games and be done with it. And he's become a story in and of himself and everything. And there's a big kid that's coming to the league and trying to make a name for himself, but at the same time, those types of plays, there's just no rationale for them, and he'll pay a price as he should.
As always, man, we appreciate it. Thanks for the reminder about noodles and the popcorn. We got to remember to talk about this with him tomorrow. So well done, Craig, once again.
Thanks. Have a great day.
There you go. That is Craig Button with TSN. Joins us every single Tuesday. Brought to you by our great partners over at Pro-Am Sports, where everybody's signing. That's just what's going on there right now. If you go to proamsports.ca, the deadline for Nuge is March 13th. That's tomorrow because today's March 12th. So hop in there, and if you have any Nuge items or you were the people that he dug out of the snow, and get a picture and go get that signed. That'd be a good one. Ethan Morrow.
That'd be great.
Deadline, 27th of March. Vincent Desharnais, local fan favorite. Deadline, Wednesday, April 3rd. And Ryan Smith, all-time fan favorite. Private signing with Smitty. Deadline is Saturday, April 6th to get your items in for that one at Pro-Am.